Hi guys, we're back with more of The Terrible Two Get Worse by Jory, John, and Mac Barnett, illustrated by Kevin Cornell. We were on chapter 3. That fateful autumn found nearly every day punctuated by some prank perpetrated by the Terrible Two. September 30th, the Big Chirp. October 15th, the Cafeteria Calamity. But let's look closely at that parade of practical joking that was November 10th, better known at Yanni Valley Science and Letters Academy as School Picture Day. School Picture Day is strange. You probably have your photo taken all the time with cameras and phones by family and friends. Still, once a year you will be asked to carefully choose an outfit. Solid colors and medium to dark shades for that timeless look. But put too much product in your hair, schedule a haircut 2 weeks before your portrait, and pick one of 4 backgrounds. Harvest Sunset, brown. Pacific Breeze, blue. Candy Apple, red, and Forest Trail, green. All 4 backgrounds will have a hazy white spiral running through them, so your picture will look like it was taken inside a wizard's cauldron. You will have the option of paying extra for a 5th background, executive gray, just regular gray. And you will wonder what kind of person spends $10 to get gray. You will line up in the gym, clutching your order form, 8 wallet size, 4 desk size, 2 8x10s. You will file to the front of the line where a huge camera flashes every few seconds. A bored man with a big beard will tell you a bad joke and snap a photo that will be given to your grandparents and go up on your fridge. If your family loves it, they might put the photo on mugs or mouse pads or, worst of all, cell phone cases. So you will have to look at your school picture when your mom uses her phone to take pictures of you. The best pictures capture who we truly are. School pictures capture who we are at school on School Picture Day. Now sit down and smile, and don't blink. You don't want your school picture to turn out like this. "Aw, man," said Stuart. The kid in the picture is Stuart. "I think I blinked." Mr. Yeager scratched his beard and looked at the camera. "Yes," he said, "you blinked." "That always happens to me," said Stuart. "I get freaked out about the flash." "Let's try this again," said Mr. Yeager. "Say Munster." "Aw, man," said Stuart. "Now I think I have my eyes closed the whole time." "We'll try one more. Say Munster." "Looks good," said Mr. Yeager. "Cool," said Stuart. "Next. Next. Next. Next." "Can I have your order form?" asked Mr. Yeager. "I don't have an order form," said Holly Rash. "Did you forget it at home?" "No, I don't really like having my picture taken." "Then why did you wait in line?" "I have to get one," said Holly. "I'm the class president." "Next. Next." "Munster," said Niles. "Instead of just cheese." "That's very good, Mr. Yeager. I remember when you made that joke last year, and I think it might have been even funnier this time around. You know, I always say that's the mark of a good joke. It gets a laugh no matter how many times you hear it." "Uh-huh," said Mr. Yeager. You may notice that Miles Sparks looks very different from when we last saw him. Notice the tie. Notice the well-combed hair. Notice the sash adorning his torso that says School Helper. That's because who Niles was at school picture day or not, was a very different person from who he truly was. You already know that Niles Sparks was a prankster. He loved reading about pranks, thinking about pranks, and dreaming about pranks. But what you don't know, unless you've read The Terrible Two, in which case, hello again and feel free to skip the rest of the sentence, is that Niles Sparks avoided suspicion by pretending to be someone else. "You'll notice I put all my activities on my order form, Mr. Yeager." Niles indicated a neatly written list in the lower right corner of the sheet. "School helper, of course, but also captain of the safety patrol, lieutenant of the safety patrol, well, technically all the officers of the safety patrol. Really the only member of the safety patrol besides Miles, who's just a cadet, although I'm urging him to show more initiative. I'm also president of the Student Behavior Committee, chair of LADS, which is an organization I invented to ensure—" "This is really more of a thing for whoever runs your yearbook," said Mr. Yeager. He popped a piece of gum in his mouth and gave Niles a tired look. Niles knew the tired look Mr. Yeager was giving him right now. It was the look that said, "There's one of these kids at every school." What Niles understood was that people love to put things, songs and books and other people, into categories. There are so many books and so many songs and so many people in the world, and most of them are peculiar in one way or another. But it's a lot of work thinking about peculiar things, and so most people just sort the things into categories, loud songs or funny books, and then they don't have to think about these things anymore. Niles Sparks didn't want people thinking about him. He believed the best pranksters were invisible. And so every school day, Miles played the kiss-up, the toady, the persnickety twerp. "Is that nicotine gum, Mr. Yeager?" asked Miles. "Congratulations on quitting smoking. I hope I wasn't too hard on you last year, but I also hope that I had something to do with your decision to get healthy. You might be interested to know that you were part of what inspired me to start Yanni Valley Science and Letters Academy's first student anti-smoking society, which I've listed on my order form in the lower right-hand." Next. "Get your hands away from me, Josh," Miles said. "You're sick." "No, I'm not," Josh said, then coughed. "Josh," said Miss Shandy, "no bunny ears." Josh Parkin patted Miles Murphy's head and turned to their homeroom teacher. "Sorry, Miss Shandy, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. You know how my dad, your boss, hates when students have mussed up hair in their school pictures? I was just trying to fix the new kid's hair." "I've been here for a year, Josh." It was exactly what the new kid would say. And even though Miles Murphy had been in Yanni Valley for a year, he was still the new kid. When students talked about the field trip 4 years ago, or the pageant in kindergarten, or the time Coach O did that dance at that one assembly, Miles had no idea what they were talking about. Maybe Miles was less new than he was 12 months ago, but when you're the new kid at school, you stay the new kid until one day a newer kid comes, or you graduate with the rest of your class. And that was fine. Miles wanted to be the new kid for as long as possible. He wore new kid as a disguise. It explained why he spent so much time hanging out with a kid like Niles Sparks, and it obscured the fact that he was half of a pranking duo. "Shut up, Nimbus," said Josh. It was exactly what Josh would say, because he was always saying it. The camera clicked. The flash. "Next." "How about you show us that pretty smile, dear?" "Dear?" said Miss Shandy. "Here's my card," said Mr. Yeager, "in case you ever need a photographer." "I won't," said Miss Shandy. "Bye." "Okay," said Mr. Yeager, fiddling with the backdrop. "Will the students who ordered executive gray please line up?" Only Josh stepped forward. Josh put on a khaki cap he'd taken to wearing ever since coming back from camp. He had several bars and service ribbons fastened to the front of his shirt, which Miles and Niles suspected he'd bought at a military surplus store rather than earning. "My dad, who is principal of this school, is willing to pay for a more dignified portrait," Josh said to nobody in particular. He was the last student to get his picture taken, and most of the class was milling around by the trophy case, dribbling basketballs Coach B had specifically asked them not to dribble. "Really? This is more of a historic document when you think about it, since one day I'll be principal of this school, just like my father and his father and his father before him. And also the father before him, too." Josh counted on his fingers. "Plus one more. 5 fathers, 4 fathers, 5 forefathers. Get it?" Mr. Yeager got it, but he did not laugh. "My dad says executive gray is the background of Barkins because in his day, they didn't have color choices. And before that, pictures were black and white, so everything was sort of..." Josh started coughing again. Mr. Yeager backed away a bit. "Are you sick?" "No," Josh said. "Barkins don't get sick." "Okay," said Mr. Yeager, "because you sound sick." "Shows what you know. A Barkin has never taken a sick day in the history of Yanni Valley. My father, his father, all my 5 forefathers." Josh paused for a laugh that never came. "They all graduated with perfect attendance records, and I will too. It's quite simple. When you have the immune system of a future principal..." "All right, let's do this," said Mr. Yeager. Miles and Niles weren't even in the room to see their first prank of the day go off. They were on the way to a supply closet to carry out a safety patrol equipment check. One of the advantages of being on the safety patrol was always getting to miss class for equipment checks, strategy meetings, and traffic duty. Another advantage was unfettered access to the safety patrol supply closet, which was mostly full of stop signs and hard hats, but also contained several canisters of reflective paint, which is meant to be sprayed on patrol equipment. It goes on clear, but catches the light of oncoming headlights to ensure that crossing guards are visible to drivers. It also glows eerily when illuminated by, say, a camera flash, and is particularly effective against dark backgrounds. And so earlier that day, while Mr. Yeager was taking a cigarette break after photographing the first graders, alas, he was having trouble quitting. Miles and Niles had snuck into the gym. They were supposed to be planning a bake sale for lads, and doctored one of the backgrounds. You probably know which one. Anyone bumptious enough to pay for Executive Gray would find, when their school pictures came back, that they'd been visited by an uninvited guest. Verily, it was a golden age of pranking, and like any golden age, nobody knew it was happening until it was over.